This is CG Talks, the podcast where CG guys talk about CG.
This podcast is powered by GarageFarm.net, a place where 3D cloud rendering is incredibly fast and cheap.
We're continuing the conversation with Federico Biancullo from The Big Picture in Italy, an Archviz artist. And now I want to jump into a topic strictly related to Archviz industry. And I wanted to talk about the selling points or the things that you really are selling to your client when you are doing Archviz. So, Federico, you have a long, successful career as an Archviz artist, and you're running a company, The Big Picture. I wanted to ask, what would you say played the biggest role in your success in this field?
Well, I think success is a very broad definition of term. I don't think my Archviz business is successful. I think I do my own, but I think success is something else. But in general, so it's very difficult to answer this for me. In general, what helps me going ahead is trying to serve my client, trying to establish a relationship with my client, in which my client is more a partner rather than an external party in the process. So what I like to do is having my client involved in the process whenever possible. And these are the projects in which I enjoy the most. The ones in which the client is involved. I show the client what is going on behind the scenes. We try to turn around the image, see what it can be done. Yes, I like also to, take those couple of days to make the image perfect, as everybody does. But in general, when it comes to the concepting part, to the initial part of the project, I like to involve the client in the discussion and to, lead them to understand what is going on behind the scenes. Also to explain then the process, to show them what's possible, what's not, and trying to explain also what we do, also our profession. So I think this very didactic approach, this very teaching-focused approach is something that is helping me build upon what I'm doing to go forward, go ahead. And something that I'm also developing outside the image making part. Right now, actually the news is from yesterday. We're recording now the 29th of June. The news was out just yesterday. I'm starting it in an Archviz Academy, again, together with two colleagues, which are Paolo Zambrini and Giancarlo Russo from Engram Studio in Italy and here, which are two really big firms in Italy, probably the two biggest firms in Italy that do Archviz for. Engram does it for architectural competitions, here does it for real estate, but we joined forces together to do this academy. And we're focusing this very much on the professional aspects of Archviz. So this is something else that is keeping moving me. So it's the teaching part, not just for students, but also for my clients. So I like to educate my clients on what's possible, on how we work behind the scenes, and try to get them excited about the process, about what we do. I don't like to close myself, to shut my doors and to come back after 7 days with a finished product. It works for a lot of people. I'm not that kind of guy. So I would say this is also my selling point in a way. So not just that, but it's what makes the big picture not successful, but what makes the big picture unique. Mm-hmm. What makes the big picture, so to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that kind of brings up one of my next questions, because when you say when a client chooses an Archviz studio, he might be looking for various features like image quality, like a particular style. I believe many of us would love to be picked for our unique style, but do you have you said that you have a way of approaching that makes your own personal? Do you think this is something for everyone, or just like a niche approach? Or maybe, maybe you've seen other approaches like that are working.
Well, the style thing, I think this is a bit of a controversial thing that I'm going to say, but I think that our clients really seldomly see the style of our images. All these people that are really educated at seeing images and have been working with a client for a long time, they start recognizing, the characteristics of certain kind of images. And very few offices actually can recognize the quality and the style in an image. Uh, I've been told that my images have a style, so it's very flattering when people tell you that your images have a style. But it's an artist thing again. uh, it's something that ourselves we take hold of these things. We take into consideration style as a point of honor, but among our circles. So
Mhm.
it's very rare that I hear the client saying, the style of images, it's unique, it's very peculiar. Clients are usually more interested into having a trusted partner that can do the work in a smooth manner.
Mhm.
So I think that's the most important thing in our industry. Of course, the quality of our service, the quality of our images is paramount. Probably it's the foundation of what we do. So our images have to reach a certain degree of quality, which, by the way, is getting higher and higher. The bar is getting higher and higher by the years with the tools that we mentioned. Easy rendering tools, easy rendering engines, the AI as well. So the bar is getting higher. But once you get that bar, your job is not to, I think, as an Archviz artist, yeah, you can do it as a personal research if you want to improve yourself as an artist again. But your duty as a service provider is to ensure that the relationship with your client is good, that your client trusts your way of work, trusts your opinion. I think that's the most important part of what we do, and that should be the selling point of what we do. So we should sell kind of a trust to our clients in the
Hmm.
way we do things, rather than
That's
selling a style.
yeah, that's interesting. Like probably not a very common approach, like the of thinking as an artist, right? That because we I think we tend to kind of look at this on a very personal level when we approach this thing that, like, I think many of our artists are doing this job because they love it, right? Because they enjoy making images, or they love architecture, they love seeing beautiful pictures,
Mhm.
and like sometimes we might describe our work as we are doing like virtual photography or doing images. But what you said, like that you are kind of giving like trustful advice or trustful products to your client, it's like a totally different world, I would say. And the thing about the
But they don't have
tools,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
the
I
thing
just
about
want to
the
clarify
tools.
that I don't think that
Mhm.
things so. I don't think they do it. They exclude both. One excludes the other. I think the trust part and the client relationship part is the business part of our job, while the style, I think, is still very important because it's the joy part of what we do. We like to have a style. We like being recognized in our industry for a style. So there's nothing wrong in having a style. It's very important to have your own style, to be recognized for that. What I'm saying is that when you go in the outside world, in the world of service industry, usually the style is not your selling point unless it's a very, very peculiar style. That was my point. But the style is still very
Mhm.
important because it's part, yeah, as you were saying, in the joy of making images. So doing things your own way, it's the joy itself. It's a joy for you. It should be a joy for what we do. Otherwise, if that point starts missing, that we have a problem.
And the whole, like most of the clients, I think, in the industry, these are somehow related to the whole architecture, building industry, like real estate and stuff like that. So right now, with the modern technology, modern architectural softwares, they are becoming, like I said, more like easier and powerful. They can produce quality, realistic images. Like a few years back, maybe having a photorealistic image was like a thing. When the IKEA catalog became CGI, it was like a thing, right? That you don't need to photograph, to make photography of product, but you can do like CGI, and they can even produce animations. So I wanted to ask, like, why would architects or companies involved in the industry would need help from a specialized artist like an Archviz artist?
Mhm.
What
Well,
makes that
the
need?
artist artist as the Archviz artist has some kind of skills, some tools that the architects doesn't have usually. An Archviz artist is a person who is trained, yeah, into the tools of art. So the Archviz artist should know how an image is made, how a powerful image is made, what makes a powerful image. use of colors, use of composition, use of lighting, how you frame your image. All those things is things that usually the architect doesn't have. And you can give the architect all the tools that you want, even to the tools that give you an immediate image. But if they don't have, this foundation, they will still produce images that are not effective. So the Archviz artist should be, first of all, trained into this stuff, into the artistic tools, into the artistry. Then the technical part, I think, comes later. Technical part is is the equivalent of the color palette or the brushes for the painter. So if you know how to use your tools, you're also able to reproduce your content and your concept in a good way, in an effective way. So that's what's missing right now in architecture offices. And the tools that you mentioned, I was mentioning Escape, I was mentioning Twinmotion.
Twinmotion.
These tools are great for previews, so pre-visualization or for quick presentations. So architects, when they have the need to present something that is very effective, that makes an impact, that evokes an emotion in the viewer, they still go to architect firms because they need that kind of expertise. And that expertise is there because artists know how to do images and to use the tools of the artist. So that's the main difference. The tools will be more and more simple by the day, by the months, by the years. But this kind of knowledge is something that you cannot just give for granted. You have to get an expert, whether it's an in-house artist or an external consultant. You need somebody with this expertise for certain kinds of projects. Not all projects, probably intermediate presentations with clients, quick presentations, quick options iterations. They do not need this kind of approach, but this kind of approach will always be needed for example, press release, public presentations, competitions, really high budget projects where you have a lot of money, millions of euros or dollars on stake. So this kind of approach, this marketing-based approach, this emotional-based approach will always be relevant to a client. And this is something that tools cannot take away.
At garagefarm.net, you'll find many 3D rendering solutions. Use coupon codes visible on our social media channels during registration to boost your account up to $100 of free render credits and check how quick and life-saving 3D cloud rendering is.
Exactly, like it's. I think it brings me back to one of my talks that I have with Lex Sakowski, that's founder of Chocofor, the asset store, and also he's running a visualization business. And he said, I asked him about the VR that was kind of a thing going on back then, and he said something like that VR doesn't really take away the need for example, for still images, and that he has an opinion that still images are in some aspects even better than the whole VR thing, because VR lets a client immerse in the whole space, for example, but it kind of like gives him too much freedom, and it doesn't give him like a directed view of the thing. So a still image is like a frame, like a nice photograph that an artist makes, like a decision of a framing of everything, like to show a specific quality of the space, for example. And it doesn't, just roaming around the space sometimes doesn't give that particular feeling, or it's like pointing someone to some kind of a special, doing that in a specific light condition or anything like that just forms the whole story, right? That you're trying to create a story, right?
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. That's why the artistic part is so important. The artistic tools are there to help us guide the viewer to view certain aspects of a project. And the still image is perfect to highlight certain parts of a project. Even animations, even though animations also are a very directed product. Even if it's animated, they serve more or less the same purpose. They still show the project in the way that the director wants. While the 360 is more difficult. You don't have that much control on the details, so that's why walkthrough and 360s are used to, especially for certain kind of industries. For real estate, for example, it's very common to use 360 and walkthroughs, not so much for public projects, competitions, or press releases. That's for the reasons that you said.
Okay, so do you think that the technology that's emerging, like VR. Right now, the metaverse is like a hot thing, and also like virtual architecture. Like, do you think that these will like change our industry? What do you think? Like in a few years, the Archviz business will look like? Are there, or is it like a totally new business that's emerging?
Well, I've seen Archviz firms that have jumped into the metaverse trend, so there's definitely a business opportunity there. In change, in the sense that probably some firms are going to implement this. Now it's very hyped. Probably a bit less now that we had this crypto crash, so everything was brought down along with the crypto crash. So we have to be careful of that aspect as well. But generally, something that have been seeing firms implementing to their own service line, I don't think it's going to revolutionize the industry. That would be still, of course, we still have need for physical products. The built architecture will be always there, and we'll still need the still images 360. The animation will be still there, but definitely I see firms that will start chasing this trend. That will be a broadening of our services, probably, and that's the change that I'm seeing in the industry happening even right now. So yes, it's changing not the industry as a thing as a whole, but it's changing. Well, it's widening the range of services that we offer, because the expertise is more or less there. So it's still virtual architecture. Softwares are more or less the same, especially for those who use already Unreal Engine that work in Unity, for example. So the seeds are already there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned like the Unreal Engine, and generally it's interesting that there's technologies that are coming from the entertainment industry, especially game development industry, that are hitting the Archviz industry so much. Like it's like a strange coincidence with two like seemingly totally different activities, but they are using the same tools right now. And even like the metaverse is like kind of like right now architecture is like also a part of the games industry, so to speak, like creating virtual realities, and it kind of opens up as like a possibility of doing something totally different. And I've seen this in with the pandemic breaking out, and people doing art, but also like different other projects for using this as an opportunity to just like broaden their scope of activity, not just like Archviz or architecture that is going to be built, but just imaginary spaces, things for the game world as well, because it's like
those two things are very close.
Yeah, these are close, and they weren't that close ever before. I think right now it's like almost the same. Do you think that this is also going to be something in the coming years?
Well, I don't know about that, honestly. I know architects have made the jump from the architecture industry to the video game industry, and the new firm, the video game firm, appreciated them for their architectural background. So that's all I know. I know that probably tools are going to converge, and they already are. I don't see the two industries merging anytime soon, honestly. The productions are so different. For making a video game, you need really, really, really so many people. You need so much time to make a huge production. The scopes and the scales of the work are so different that I don't see a real merge happening. A merging tools, probably. Merging scope, nah, I really don't, because the video game industry, and especially how is it made right now, it's the most lucrative industry in the entertainment market. Not probably, it is the most lucrative industry in the entertainment market, and there's number going around the video game industry that we can just dream about in architecture. So it's two different leagues, totally two different leagues.
Yeah,
but the tools, yes, the tools are more or less the same.
Yeah, I just wondered about the need that comes from the metaverse and also the game dev industry, that there's a lot of architecture in that, really, because this is like it seems like I could like something that's a new kind of like a field of architecture, because there's a lot of architecture that's realistic, but there's also like completely fantasy based architecture, and it also like I'm thinking that this is kind of like an opportunity for a lot of people involved in the architectural business just to be just to be
Sure.
doing that, because
Not for
sometimes it's done by
firms,
people.
not for firms, but for artists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not for people, but for, sorry, not for firms, but for people that have knowledge in architecture and have a knowledge also of the tools. They can actually try to pursue a career in video game design. In video game companies, people that, as I was telling you before, with the example of this person, video game companies that seek the expertise of an architect that knows how to design buildings and design spaces and make realistic spaces is very important. Designing a realistic environment in a video game is crucial, and people that come out of academies often they do not know how architecture works, how to make believable buildings or spaces. That's why you need an architect that knows how to do these things, and that's definitely a job opportunity for people that want to pursue a career into that.
This is the end of the second part of our conversation with Federico Biancullo from The Big Picture, also a host of There's Something About Archviz podcast. And in the next one, we will talk about wearing different hats as a 3D generalist, or generally as a person, finding your way in the industry and being open to new challenges. So stay with us and listen to the next City Talks with Federico Biancullo.